Before your first breath was ever drawn into this world, before your form was known to the eyes of men, there was a conversation in the highest places of heaven, an eternal meeting not governed by time, not limited by language, where the Spirit of God hovered over destinies yet to be birthed, and your name was spoken aloud with a sacred purpose. This was not casual mention, it was declaration. It was agreement. You were selected in a realm where light carries memory, and every syllable spoken becomes the blueprint of reality. In that holy moment, when divine beings gathered before the throne, your name was etched into the eternal scrolls, not merely as a participant of this world, but as an instrument of divine orchestration. You are not made to blend in. You are not crafted to go unnoticed. You were born into a body, into a family, into circumstances that may have seemed chaotic or ordinary, but within you was encoded a destiny so precise, so ancient, so powerful, that even the angels stood in awe of its unfolding. You have felt it all your life, haven't you? That unshakable awareness that you're different, not in arrogance, but in assignment. The dreams that seem bigger than your surroundings. The tears you've cried without knowing why. The heaviness that rests on your chest when others are laughing without a care, because deep inside you can feel it. There's something you were born to do that cannot be delayed any longer. And now, the time has come. The alarms in heaven have sounded, not in fear, but in divine activation. The bells of your destiny are ringing louder than ever before, and God is calling you to rise into the identity that was written before time began. This is why the world has tried so hard to distract you, why the enemy has aimed every dart to confuse your mind and silence your voice. Because if you ever woke up to the truth of who you are, the plans of darkness would shatter in your presence. You are not just a human being. You are a spiritual force, a vessel of prophecy, a child of divine agreement. You walk in rooms and shift atmospheres, even when you say nothing. You dream dreams that are coded with revelation. You carry wisdom that cannot be traced to earthly learning. And for too long, you've wondered if something was wrong with you. But now God speaks clearly. There is nothing wrong with you. What's wrong is that the world was never prepared for someone like you. You were prepared for this age, but this age was not prepared for you. That's why you never fully fit in, why you've been rejected in places that couldn't recognize the royalty wrapped in humility. They saw your face, but they couldn't discern your spirit. But heaven knew. Heaven saw it all. Heaven remembers. You were chosen for this, for the healing, for the leading, for the breaking of generational curses, for the awakening of nations through your voice, your hands, your presence. You are the answer to prayers prayed long before you were born. You are the key to doors your ancestors could only knock on in desperation. You are the fulfillment of a vow whispered by someone who never lived to see it, but still believed God would raise up someone in the family line who could carry it through. That someone is you. And now, as you read this, something inside you is being activated, not by emotion, but by truth. This is not just encouragement. This is spiritual confirmation. Your life was preserved for such a time as this. Your soul chose to come through this path, this lineage, this pain, this preparation. And now, the heavens are opening. Divine instructions are being released. The scroll of your assignment is being unsealed, and the angels are watching to see how you respond. Will you shrink back, or will you stand in the full glory of who you were always meant to be? The earth is groaning for your voice. Creation is awaiting your agreement. Everything you've endured, everything you've survived, everything you've questioned, none of it was wasted. It was shaping you for this hour. So step forward, not with fear, but with fierce remembrance. The same God who called you before you were born is now calling you forward to fulfill what only you can carry. Heaven is counting on you, and time has finally caught up with your calling. And now that the call has reached your spirit, the question is not whether you were chosen. It is whether you will accept that the choice was never a mistake. Because the enemy has tried for years to convince you otherwise, whispering lies wrapped in your past failures, echoing the voices of those who misunderstood you, playing back every moment you hesitated, doubted, or felt disqualified. But those were not moments of failure. They were evidence of your warfare, proof that you carry a mantle heavy enough to attract spiritual resistance. You were born with a weight that other people couldn't feel because they weren't built to carry it. The pressure you've endured, the setbacks, the inexplicable heaviness in your spirit. It was not weakness. It was spiritual tension between your present and your potential, between the natural timeline and the eternal blueprint. And now the veil is thinning. What once felt distant is drawing near. Heaven has assigned watchmen to your destiny, angels who have waited generations for the moment you would wake up and say, yes. A yes that doesn't need full understanding. A yes that walks into the fire if that's where the breakthrough lies. A yes that doesn't wait to be validated, applauded, or promoted. This is the yes of someone who remembers, not with the mind, but with the soul, that they were placed on this earth for a divine unfolding. And though the world may still call you by your earthly name, heaven already sees the title written over your life in the Spirit. Liberator, restorer, intercessor, bridge builder, curse breaker. And whether you see it yet or not, the moment you were born, the atmosphere around your family line shifted. Darkness sensed your arrival. Strongholds that had lingered for generations began to tremble. Why? Because you came with the code. The one who would finish what others started. The one who would stand in the gap. The one who would cry out in prayer when others gave up. The one who would forgive when vengeance would have been easier. The one who would stay when walking away would have felt justified. This isn't just about you. It's about every soul tied to your obedience. Every life your voice will reach. Every wound your testimony will heal. Every future you'll shape by simply choosing to become the full expression of the light inside you. And yet, this transformation is not instant. It is sacred and slow and tailored. You may still be surrounded by people who don't believe in you, but their belief is not required. God's anointing is already on you. You may still be walking through valleys of uncertainty, but every step is ordered. You may still feel like you're behind, but in God's timeline, you are right on schedule. The timing of your awakening is not random. It was chosen, deliberately, painstakingly, precisely. The alignment of circumstances you're feeling now, the sense that everything is coming to a head, that doors are opening or closing abruptly, that certain people are being removed without explanation. None of this is accidental. It's evidence of divine timing accelerating around you. You're not being punished, you're being positioned. You're not losing, you're shedding what can't go with you. You're not being left behind, you're being elevated beyond what the former version of you could even comprehend. And with each passing hour, you'll begin to see it. Synchronicities that feel like signs, words that confirm what your heart already knows, dreams that repeat the same message, even random strangers speaking truth that feels strangely familiar. These are not coincidences. These are divine echoes. They are breadcrumbs left by heaven to remind you that you're not crazy, you're chosen. You're not delusional, you're destined. You're not lost, you're being led. And though the path may not be fully visible, your next step will always be lit by trust. This is your hour to walk by faith, not by certainty, to obey without delay, to act before you're affirmed. Because the reward of obedience is not comfort, it's alignment. And when your life is in divine alignment, the impossible becomes inevitable. Resources find you. The right voices surround you. Miracles follow you. Why? Because God doesn't fund fantasies. He funds divine assignments. And yours is now active. Heaven is mobilized. Angels are assigned. The scrolls are opening. And the only thing left is your full yes. Not the hesitant yes. Not the someday yes. The yes that says, I may not understand everything, but I remember who I am. I remember why I came. And I choose now. The time has come. You must understand now that this calling on your life, this sacred, preordained appointment, was not whispered into existence lightly, nor did it come forth from a place of cosmic randomness or spiritual coincidence. It was spoken in thunder before time began, sealed in the breath of God before your first heartbeat ever echoed in your mother's womb. Long before you were conceived, you were carried in the thoughts of heaven, not as a backup plan, not as an afterthought, but as a divine strategy, a soul encoded with solutions for battles yet to come, designed not only to survive, but to shift atmospheres and disarm principalities by the sheer sound of your obedience. You were not simply born. You were deployed, dispatched by the eternal realm into a world that would do everything it could to make you forget why. It tried to make you forget through childhood wounds, rejection, losses that shook you to your core, betrayals that threatened to harden your heart, delays that made you question God's timing, and detours that almost made you settle for a lesser identity. But still, the original word God spoke over you remained untouched, preserved like fire inside your bones, waiting for this hour, this divine moment where heaven is leaning in to remind you. The season of hiding is over. The era of shrinking is done, and the crown that was made to fit your spiritual DNA is ready to be placed upon your head, if only you will rise and remember that you were not created for mediocrity. You were crafted to carry a spiritual authority that rewrites legacies, breaks bloodline chains, and opens gates that remained locked for generations. And even though you have been attacked, discouraged, misunderstood, delayed, and almost destroyed, the truth is that your survival was the prophecy, and your endurance is proof of your assignment's urgency. Because someone somewhere right now is alive only because your name still echoes in the chambers of prayer. Someone is holding on, not knowing that your story will one day reach them like a lifeline wrapped in light. And when you speak, something buried in them will wake up, because your pain carries resurrection power. You must begin to see that the things that hurt you were not just about you. They were part of the training, a divine curriculum designed to crush the illusion of control and awaken the indestructible spirit inside you that can't be silenced, bought, or broken. You carry the inheritance of every ancestor who prayed for a day like this. You are the fulfillment of tears they wept, altars they built, sacrifices they made in faith, not even knowing your name, but trusting that someone would rise from the ruins with enough courage to finish what they started. This is why the enemy fought you so violently, not because of who you were, but because of who you're becoming. Every trap, every false relationship, every delay, every spiritual fog you walk through was designed to keep you distracted long enough that you'd miss this exact moment. But heaven preserved you. God hid you in plain sight. And now, as the winds shift in the spirit, you're being called forth, not by man, not by the opinions of people, but by the voice that spoke galaxies into motion. God is calling you out of spiritual amnesia, out of the smallness you settled for, out of the guilt and shame that were never yours to carry. You were never meant to blend in, to bow to broken systems, or to edit yourself for the comfort of others. You were born to interrupt cycles, to carry revelations that provoke transformation, to bring a sound that cuts through apathy, and to move in a wisdom that cannot be taught, but only activated through divine remembrance. Every time you felt like the black sheep, every moment you were left out, every time you were misunderstood, it was the evidence that your spirit carried something different. You weren't being rejected, you were being preserved. God didn't let you fit in because He never meant for you to conform. He meant for you to consecrate. And now that time has come. The gates of heaven are open. The books are being read. And your name is being called in the spirit realm with urgency, not for your comfort, but because lives depend on your awakening. You may feel unprepared, unworthy, or unequipped, but those are the very qualities that make you ready. Because God is not looking for those with titles or platforms. He's looking for the surrendered. And if you will offer Him your full yes, without conditions, without delay, without needing to know how it ends. He will send angels to reinforce you, divine connections to align you, and supernatural provision to sustain you. The battles ahead will not be easy, but they will be holy. And if you walk this path in full agreement, you will not only see the glory of God, you will become a vessel of it, releasing it into dry places, breathing life into dead things, and igniting fires that will spread through generations. You were chosen. You were marked. And now, beloved, the time has come. And now the heavens thunder with a silence more sacred than sound, as all of creation waits to see whether you will answer the calling that has echoed across timelines to reach this very instant in your life. Because this is not just a season. This is the crossing of a divine threshold that can never be reversed. And once you step into it fully, the old version of you, the one who doubted, feared, diminished, and delayed, will fall away like the last veil before glory touches your eyes and you begin to see yourself the way heaven always did, as the key to a door only you could open, as the voice that carries healing only your wounds could deliver, as the miracle someone else is praying for in silence right now, unaware that their breakthrough is tied to your obedience. And as you read this, the spirit realm is shifting around you. Yes, even now, angels are assembling not just to protect, but to activate. Not just to guard, but to reveal, because you were never meant to walk this path alone. And as you rise, they rise with you, for your assignment has been inscribed into the very air you breathe. And with every exhale, you're drawing nearer to the reason you were sent to earth at this exact time in history, when so many hearts are growing cold and so many souls are drowning in counterfeit comfort. And yet you remain. Wounded perhaps, weary maybe, but not defeated, because something eternal burns inside of you that refuses to die. And now that fire is being fanned by the breath of God Himself, who has waited patiently for the day you would realize that the ache in your spirit was never depression. It was destiny trying to break through the fog of this world's lies and wake you from spiritual sedation. Because you were not created to numb your way through life. You were created to shake foundations, to tear down spiritual strongholds with a whisper, to walk into rooms and shift atmospheres, not because of your eloquence or resume, but because the anointing you carry is ancient, tested, and now fully matured. And as you surrender to this revelation, every delay you've suffered will be redeemed in acceleration. Every loss will return tenfold in purpose. Every tear will become a seed, and every moment of silence where you thought God had forgotten you will echo with new meaning as you realize He was preparing the stage, waiting for the exact moment when your spirit was strong enough to carry the weight of the calling without collapsing under the pressure of public scrutiny or the seduction of false success. And now you will walk forward, not as someone seeking approval, but as someone chosen by heaven's own decree. And you will speak with authority not born from pride, but from a fire that refined you in secret when no one saw the warfare, the nights you almost gave up, the mornings you forced yourself to believe again, the heartbreaks that seemed pointless until you saw how they birthed a compassion the world desperately needs. Because only the broken can bind the wounds of a shattered, and only those who've walked through hell with heaven's whisper in their ear can carry the kind of faith that wakes up the sleeping. So now you will no longer ask, why me, but what now? And you'll be led step by step, not with all the answers, but with all the grace. And you'll begin to see confirmations so divine they will break you open in gratitude. The right conversation at the right moment. The door that opens when every other one closed. The whisper that hits your soul like thunder and lets you know that this is not imagination. This is not hype. This is God's precise and perfect timing. And you are finally in alignment, not because everything feels easy, but because everything feels sacred, even the struggle, even the stretching, because you finally understand that this pain has a pulse and this battle has a birthplace in prophecy. And you are not here to survive it. You are here to shift it, to speak to it, to command it, to dismantle it by the sheer weight of the mantle that rests on you now, like a crown forged in fire and anointed with the prayers of generations who could only dream of a time like this. And now that time is here, and so are you, and nothing will ever be the same, because you are not just a believer. You are a breaker of chains, a restorer of altars, a revealer of glory, a vessel of revival. And the torch you now carry is not just for you, but for every soul waiting for a light too. Prove that God still sends messengers in human form. And you, beloved, are that messenger. And this is that moment. And heaven is watching, waiting, and rejoicing because you, chosen one, have finally arrived at the appointed time. And this is only the beginning.